Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Glory Glory podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Quinn, and joining me again today is Michael Gracie. How's it going, Michael?
It's not going great, Kyle. To be honest, wasn't the best weekend for either of us. I don't think.
Yeah, it's not going great for any United fans at the moment. We really are on the slide, big time. And I believe we are 20th in the form table. Norwich
Oh,
have
lovely.
Norwich have accumulated more points than us in the last four games. That's how bad we are now.
Oh Jesus, I didn't know that.
So it was an absolute disgrace what happened at Old Trafford at the weekend. Again, we saw a lack of tactics, really poor tactics if there was any. Um, the team selection was all wrong again. He picked the same side that played in the first half against Atalanta. Big mistake. We saw our midfield two of McFred playing against a three in Liverpool. Keita, Henderson, and Milner. They were outnumbered. Fernandez wasn't dropping back in to help them out. Trent and Robertson were just allowed to get forward because Rashford and Greenwood were not tracking back. It was a total disaster. The defence were then it was just a catalogue of errors. Then after that, Wamasaka been pulled out of position. Then Lindelof comes across to cover him. He's pulled out of position. Likewise, Maguire. It's like a domino effect. Then Shaw tucks in as a third centre back, and there's like lots of space on the right then for Keita or Trent just to have a shot on goal to get across in, and it was just a complete capitulation. Um, it seems as if it was the end for Solskjaer. Perhaps not, but we'll get on to it later in the show. So, what was your thoughts on the game then, Michael?
Oh well, I mean, you can't say it all. It was absolutely abysmal, and I would particularly like to go in on the defense because I think going forward, like we weren't too bad, but at the end of the day, so much shit was happening in the back that we couldn't really kind of push on. I think that the defenders almost kind of flocked to the ball every time. Even with the first goal, you saw kind of Harry Maguire leaving Salah going across to Firmino, and then that left Shaw, who was then playing Salah onside, was then able to pass. Salah was able to then pass it, or Firmino was able to pass it then Salah, and then Shaw was just left trying to cover three men. There was at that point there, it was too late. There was nothing to be done. And I actually went back and looked at the highlights. From Alisson initiating that, it was six easy passes and then Liverpool had scored. That's how easy it was for Liverpool to score passes. And the fact that it ended 5-0 is only because Liverpool really, stopped kind of trying. If they really went for that, I could have ended 10-0.
Yeah, no doubt about that. They eased off. Maybe they just wanted they knew had the game won and just wanted to protect themselves. Play possession football and see it out, not risk any injuries. If it had been Man City, I think it could have been double figures. And if Solskjaer continues to be in charge, I and we for the City game that's coming up very shortly, I do think it could be 7 or 8 or even 10. And that sounds ludicrous, but we're playing so badly at the moment that that's possible. A real rut is setting in, and players just aren't playing for him anymore, in my opinion. We seen all the leaks coming out yesterday, and I'll just get on to that now. Like, here's just some of the leaks that are coming out. Bailly challenged Solskjaer over Maguire's selection against Leicester. Ronaldo is exasperated with Mason Greenwood, and a senior player asked Ollie why Van der Beek doesn't play more. And those are just some of the leaks that are coming out, and the players seem to be using their PR team and their agents to blame the coaching staff for the things going wrong. For me, yes, a lot of things that are coming out are and the criticism that the players seemingly are having of the coaching staff is correct, but they also have to take responsibility. There's definitely players out there who are not given 100% against Liverpool and are no longer playing for this manager. So it seems like a situation that's only going to end one way.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we were kind of I think we were both kind of hopeful that Ollie would potentially get the sack before the Spurs game, but it now doesn't look like that's going to happen. And you just can't. I can't see how there's any way back from this. I mean, I think some of the players aren't just aren't performing for Ollie. I think Maguire especially was god awful. I think the criticism, the leaker you said about Bailly questioning Maguire's selection. I'd like to question that too. Like, Maguire's been awful. Shaw wasn't great either. I think like the coaching of Man United is just poor, and it's totally to blame for that performance. And the performances are only going to continue one way. I think we all kind of thought, because in the past Ollie's always been able to like grab hold of the wheel again, just as it looked like he was about to, he was about to get a sack. And so we're kind of, I think a few of us, I mean, I certainly was. I was thinking, you know what, we might be able to get a draw or even a win here. I mean, I think we all, judging by performances, you would have thought that result is exactly what we would get. But you always had a feeling in the back of your mind that Ollie can pull this back. But if he's not able to pull it back in the big games anymore, then he's got nothing. So, I mean, it's the writing's on the wall for Ollie at this point.
Yeah, when I seen the forms against Leicester, that was a game I felt he really needed to win, and it told me that he's losing the players, and people did say he might get the result against Liverpool because he's done this before, but that in fact it got worse. It was 5-0, and it really could have been more if Liverpool wanted it to be. So it seems like he's going to get a stay of execution. No, all the rumours started yesterday about him getting the sack potentially this morning, and talks starting with Conte, but that doesn't seem like it's going to happen this week. He seems like they're going to leave him in charge for Tottenham, and I really don't see the point of this, because this always ends in the manager going anyway. And that takes me nicely on to what Alex Shaw of ESPN has been tweeting out this morning. He said, "The decision makers at Man United continue to stun me. In what reality is giving Solskjaer the Spurs game the right move? So if he wins, it's all good, nothing to see here. It defies belief. A rot to set in. Nobody seems to have a nous to rectify it properly." And he goes on to say, very similar to Van Gaal having one game to save himself at home to Chelsea around Christmas time, and United not sacking him because they got a 0-0 draw. The whole X amount of game to save your job thing is one of the most ludicrous things in football. When it gets to this stage, it's always over. So, yeah, like what I mentioned, a rot to set in, the players are not playing for him. They might as well just cut the cord now and don't, prolong the agony any longer. Because even if he does somehow manage to get a win against Tottenham, that means he's going to get Atalanta and City. We need to avoid defeating that Atalanta game, to keep our hopes alive of getting to the knockout stage of the Champions League. And I fear if Ollie takes charge of that City game, it is going to be 7 or 8.
Oh, well, that is right. I think, like, the world isn't pulled over our eyes any longer. Like, we saw what happened whenever we started playing big teams in Leicester and Liverpool, and City is who are probably the most ruthless of the three. They're just going to go to town on us.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that we will lose that game really badly, and then they'll have to sack him. They should just do it now and give us a chance of getting a result in that game, and actually let's not wait until the manager has left us in mid-table or below before we actually pull the trigger, because we want to have something to salvage in the league season. I know even if the manager goes next month or during the international break, we'll still be able to salvage the FA Cup and potentially the Champions League, but we're going to be so far out of the title race by then if we let him have another 2 league games. At this point in time, if he went now, we'd still, if the new manager come in, won about 4 games in a row, we go straight back into the title race. So if we're serious about winning major honours, we need to make the change now.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, sure, we even saw that Chelsea did it last season. Look what happened with them. Like, we need to have the courage to get rid of Ali and get rid of him and get someone else in, so they have enough time to kind of turn things around. Because if we wait until after the City and Atlanta game, where we could potentially be out of the Champions League, we would be even further off the top and probably would have taken another dick in it done.
Yeah, I just don't see the point in giving them a stay of execution. It seems to me maybe they're buying themselves some time to make a decision. Conte has been known to be a bit of a short-term manager. He tends to win a league title, but he might not stick around very long. Maybe they're not sure about that. But I don't even think the board even care about that. I think what they care about is the fact that Conte is combative with the money men at clubs. He always puts huge demands on them, and Ollie's a yes man. They've been used to that for 3 years now, and they don't want to go back to someone who's going to challenge them and make their job difficult. That's my view anyway.
Well, I think anyone that's coming into United, they've seen how United's been run over the last few years. I mean, they would surely, no matter who the manager is, know that they're going to have to contend with, the Glazers and, the accountants that are making some of the football decisions. So you kind of do need someone that's going to be combative to to that, because if you don't, then we're really screwed, because we're just gonna the cycle's just gonna continue the same way it continued with other managers before, even Ollie. Like we've had Van Gaal and Mourinho, two world class managers, came to United, and still we end up in the exact same position as we are now under Ollie. Like, so really, it goes much deeper and much higher than just Ollie. And so if we're going to get someone in, we need someone that's gonna give them shit and make things difficult for them, because that's the only way we're going to actually progress and get ourselves back into the title race.
That's what we as fans want to see. We want to see a manager who does that, but the owners obviously will know that would put them in an uncomfortable position. They're got a cursedy wee kind of situation right now where they've got a manager who won't really challenge them, in my point of view, and they don't want that to change. They don't want to sack Ollie. They don't want to, and that's why he's going to get a game which he doesn't deserve to be in charge of. Yeah, so for me, I want to see someone like Conte come in. His PR team have already been briefing that they're not willing to accept marketable players being enforced on him. He wants to sign, the players that he wants. We've seen too much of that at United. It's still ongoing. The Ronaldo signing was absolutely nothing to do with Ollie and what he needed. He needed a right back and a defensive midfielder. The last thing he probably needed was another forward, but it was a commercial signing again. And the fact that the players like Pogba and Martial continue to stay at the club, it's commercial. These players should not be there anymore. Pogba doesn't really want to be there. He's been, every single time he goes away with his international team, he does an interview. He talks about where he's going to go next, and and his agent it does the same thing. And Martial, Mourinho wanted rid of him, and the board wouldn't let Mourinho get rid of him. They felt that Mourinho was wrong about it, and because of his ability. But Mourinho was right. His attitude is stinking, and he shouldn't be there. So that is what Conte's talking about. He doesn't want players that are going to be enforced on him, and he wants to get rid of and buy players that he wants, and that is the major issue. That's why the board don't want a guy like that coming in.
Yeah, well, I mean, Conte actually, I think anyone would be better than Ollie, but I think there's even other names like Zidane, or potentially wait until the summer and seeing if we can get what do you call him, Ten Hag or Brendan Rodgers or someone else. Because I think I personally I wouldn't want another Mourinho coming in, and it does seem an awful lot like Conte is another Mourinho. I'd rather have someone that's going to play attacking football, but also who's not going to be a yes man and be who is tactically aware and can make smart decisions. And I just don't. Ollie doesn't do that, unfortunately.
Well, all those guys, Zidane, Conte, Ten Hag, and Brendan Rodgers, they're all upgrades on Ollie, and I would take any one of them. I think it's a wee bit of a myth though that Conte is similar to Mourinho. Maybe in some way he has a combative nature to him, but I mean Inter Milan scored 89 goals last season. He scored a shitload of goals with Chelsea, particularly in his first season there. I remember Chelsea beating United 4-0 when Mourinho was in charge of United and Conte was in charge of Chelsea. So he might play wing backs rather than wingers, but it's still attacking football. The 3-5-2 formation that he usually adopts. I think he's a wee bit more cuter than Mourinho. He doesn't criticise his players in public than Mourinho does. The way he's doing it again at Roma, where he said last Thursday, when he fielded a second 11 in the Europa League and they beat 6-1 by their Norwegian champions, and he basically said his whole reserve 11 is crap, and he put a whole bunch of them in the stands then for the next league game. Mourinho just never learns. I don't think Conte is as naive, to do that, or is he doesn't sabotage himself the way Mourinho does. So I do think he would be a good fit. My only concern with him is that he'll only stick around for 2 or 3 years, but we don't see long termism in management anymore. Klopp and Guardiola have been around for 5 or 6 years, but that's usually as long as it gets. The only example at the top I can think of is Simeone. He's been at Atletico for 10 years, but it's very, very rare that these days. So just getting a manager for 5 years is long term. So if Conte sticks around for 3 years, that's okay by me. Zidane, I continue to get the feeling that he doesn't really want to come to the Premier League. His agent briefed that a couple of years ago. He doesn't speak the language either, so I'm not sure if that's going to be a possibility. Rodgers, I think, would have 4 years left in his contract next summer, and United would have to pay an awful lot of money to get him out of that contract. Ten Hag would be a really interesting one. I mean, the amount of big scalps he's taken at Ajax has been amazing. Another 4-0 win against Dortmund there. Dilly Blind scored an absolute cracker in that game as well. If he came in with Van der Sar, that would be the dream. But I mean, the problem is Van der Sar is never going to be given the responsibility at United as well he has at Ajax, so he'll never take the job. So it just seems like Conte is the only realistic option at this moment in time.
Well, well, anyone, I suppose at this point, I don't want to say anyone, you could get Steve Bruce or somebody, but like certainly he would be an improvement on Ollie, and I for one would definitely be happy to see him in. He wouldn't be my first choice, but he would definitely be a choice that I would grab with both hands if he's there.
Well, it seems as if you're really, really desperate to get rid of Ollie if you're bringing in a coach who's accustomed to taking charge of championship teams and teams near the bottom of the Premier League.
No, like I said, maybe not Steve Bruce.
One thing I will say on that is it's a disgrace the way Steve Bruce has been treated by some Newcastle fans and particularly their online fan base on Twitter. The personal abuse he's had to take, he even said it is he's glad his parents are not alive anymore because they would have been heartbroken if they read the abuse that he's been receiving. And one thing I want to point out is that he'll always be welcome at Old Trafford because he's a legend at Old Trafford. He was the captain of the team that won the first Premier League title, and he scored 2 Fergie time goals against Sheffield Wednesday quite famously to help us win that title, and obviously that'll never be forgotten.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't want to go down the route of getting in ex-players or club legends into management again. I think there's too much of that going on, and even the kind of like emotional blackmail off that, because Ollie's got as far as he has because fans like him, and I think he's been kind of coasting on that a little bit. Even some of the pundits like Guy Neville or Rio Ferdinand, Paul Scholes, they don't go into him as they would if it was any other manager at all. They're not unbiased. They're totally biased about that, and I think that's not go down the route of like being sentimental and getting in next players. That doesn't work. Let's get in a proven manager with a track record of success and someone that's going to play attractive football and actually win us something.
Yeah, we're relying on likes of Jamie Carragher of all people to tell the truth about Ollie. We can't even listen to people like Guy Neville, Roy Keane and Phil Neville and a few of the other legends, Paul Scholes and Rio Ferdinand. We can't even listen to them anymore because they won't tell the truth about Ollie. They know deep down that he's not the man for the job, but they won't say it on camera, and it's very frustrating. And we also have a situation where among the fans is that they continue to back him because of who he is. They should only judge him as a manager. Let's not go back to his playing career and give that as a reason as to why he should still be given more time. He's been given 3 years. He's not up to it. Let's just be honest. We can be respectfully honest. We don't have to abuse him. It's nothing wrong with saying that he's out of his depth.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it was actually kind of a bit of a miracle that he even got the job in the first place. He was only supposed to be a caretaker manager, and I think we kind of, at the time, maybe we got a bit carried away because we got a string of good results. But as soon as he got the job permanent, then suddenly I think we did very poorly for a while. I think there was a run of 10 games where we only got a few points. I think that just kind of maybe was a sign of what was to come.
Okay, it's going to be very, very difficult to do a player ratings for a game like that. I have to be honest. There wouldn't be too many people other than De Gea who would get more than a 3. Even though we conceded 5, De Gea wasn't at fault and still made some good saves to keep the score down. So you could argue that he could get a 7. Maguire and Shaw go get naught, in my opinion. They have been atrocious since the Euros final. Shaw, I'm very concerned about. I think he's become complacent since he scored in the Euros final against Italy. He seems to be a bit of laziness has set in, and I'm very, very concerned about the form of them two. Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka aren't great either, but them two are particularly bad. Fred McTominay are just they're just as a two. They're very rarely these days are they not both a 4. To be quite honest, they're workmanlike. They'll always give you a shift, but they're just not up to the quality that we need in the centre of the field. Pogba, for his cameo appearance, I think he would get about a 0-2. for getting stupidly sent off like that. Why are you putting in a tackle like that when the game's over? There's no need to do that. Ronaldo should have been sent off as well, to be quite honest, with the kick out on, I can't remember who the Liverpool player was, but he was very, very lucky to get away with that, so that could have been another 3-game suspension. So how would you, normally we give the manager a rating too. He's had a lot of 4s and 5s recently, but I mean it's got to be lower than that after that catastrophe.
Well, I mean, we can't really give him anything. I don't think you can't get beat 5-0, and defensively we were all over the place. I've seen wet paper towels with more structure than what we were playing with on Sunday. I would give him a 0, and to be honest, if we could go negative, I would.
Yeah, if we're going to give Maguire and Shaw 0s, I think Solskjaer could get a -1 quite easily.
Oh, without doubt, yeah. I mean, the team was all over the place. And also, you even kind of mentioned as well that, Cristiano could have got sent off. I think I looked, we got 6 yellows and a red. So half the team was on a yellow, and some of the substitutions he was making, he was leaving players with a yellow, like Cristiano, on, and then bringing on players like Dalot, and you just, like, some of his substitutions were just absolutely nuts. So, yeah, he has to get a 0. Without doubt.
Yeah, at half time, the substitutes, we're 4-0 down at half time, so the substitutes are all about Dom's limitation. Dalot proved against Villarreal that he's probably the worst defender at the club. It's the worst performance by a right back that I've seen since Gary Neville's last ever game as a 36-year-old with a big belly playing against Ryan Thomas at West Brom, making him look like Ronaldo. So it's the worst performance by right back in 10 years that he done against Villarreal. And so how is he the answer to Dom's limitation? The guy is awful and shouldn't be there.
I have no idea. I also think it's stupid that he left Ronaldo on. I mean, Ronaldo is 36 years old. You imagine we're going to want him, for the Atlanta and City games. Why not rest him? Why risk him getting injured or even getting sent off or suspended? Well, especially he's already on a yellow. But they kept him on for some reason. It's almost as if he thought Ronaldo's going to somehow drag us back from this, get a hat trick, so it's not going to look so bad.
I know it was just you just take him off. He's 36, and any opportunity you get to rest him, you take that. And we're never going to come back, so you should have just took him off. Now, one minor point I just want to make is that Ronaldo scored a brilliant goal, which was a consolation, obviously, but somehow VAR ruled it out for offside when it looked for all the world that he was onside. Can you get your head around that?
No, I couldn't. I think I was reading somewhere that supposedly his shoulder was offside, but but yeah, I don't get it. Like, they should have at least given us that. Like, we lost anyway. Like, I don't know why they were so sticks about that, because he looked clearly onside to me.
Yeah, I mean, they got rid of the armpit rule from last season, where if your armpit's offside, you're off. So now we're on to shoulders now. This nonsense needs to stop. The benefit of the doubt has to go to the attacking player. Yeah, I know it has to, a part of your body that you can score with has to be offside. Your head or your foot, your arm obviously doesn't count. You can score with your shoulder, but I mean we're talking minuscule margins here. The game is about scoring goals. You have to get the benefit of the doubt to the attacker.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it wasn't offside for me. No way.
But I mean, it's just futile, really. We're talking about something that doesn't really matter that much.
I know.
Because we were going to get beat heavily anyway. But I don't like to see Ronaldo. I want to see him get as many goals for United as possible and add to his tally from his first spell. So for a really good goal like that to be chalked off just still irritates me, even in a 5-0 defeat.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it does me too. I think Ronaldo was even getting frustrated during the game, because I think at one point I saw him. He was kind of making hand signals all over the place, just kind of showing that there was no plan or no structure. So I mean, he was clearly getting frustrated with the manager himself. And then I think we both saw Fergie was at one point waving the white hanky.
Yeah, there was a few people doing it. It's the first time I've ever seen that at Old Trafford. Fans waving white hankies. It's a Real Madrid protest when things aren't going well. We also seen thousands of people walking down Sir Matt Busby Way away from the stadium while the game was still being played. Now, I've never seen that either. So it just shows you how fucking terrible things are right now under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Oh, it's an absolute shambles, and it'll only get worse before it gets better. I mean, he might be able to get something against Spurs, but say come City, it's just gonna happen again.
Yeah, I really do fear the worst against City because they are ruthless. We've seen them batter teams 7 or 8 and even 9. I think even an FA Cup final against Watford. What did they win? Was it 8 or 9? They do not ease up, and they will enjoy getting a score that's higher than the 6-1 from 10 years ago. That's what will happen if Ollie's still in charge. Whether we beat Tottenham or not, I still think City will absolutely batter us off the pitch.
Well, I think they would have seen that game against Liverpool and just know that we're there for the taking. They're going to be going there licking their lips, thinking this is great. That's all getting a score sheet today.
Yeah, because the defense is all over the place. It's very poorly coached, and the players are just not playing for the manager anymore. A real, like we said, a real rot is setting in at the club, and I don't see any way back for Ollie at this point. And we're just delaying the inevitable by not relieving him of his duties today. So just I know it's very hard to make predictions about this Tottenham game. Tottenham are not having a great season themselves, but they're at home. They've still got Keane and Son, albeit Keane isn't at his best because he doesn't really want to be there. I still fancy them to win. I don't think they'll hammer us, but I think they'll get a narrow 1-0 or 2-1 against us because I really just think we're completely gone now.
Well, I can't help but feel there would be some sort of reaction from United to that Liverpool game, that there will be some sort of fight or bounce back. It might not be much, but I mean, I could see it being a draw, maybe one each, and then it could go 2-1 either way. I think if there was a game that we were going to win, it would be this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if they won this game, but I just feel that there's real lack of effort now. The trust must be gone inside that dressing room. The amount of leaks that the players are putting out against Ollie and his coaching staff, the coaching staff and the players, the trust must be at zero now. So it's hard to see United putting in a top performance in that game. I can't see them really going all out for the win. I just think Ollie just needs to be. You can't sack all the players. So I just think the obvious change is to just let the manager go. Spurs are not doing great, but they're at home, and I would think they're capable of getting a narrow win against United. And I just think that we will give them loads and loads of chances because, I mean, our defence and midfield is just all over the shop. So, yeah, my prediction is 2-1 the Spurs, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw or we sneak a narrow win.
Yeah, I'll be a bit more optimistic because I feel like I know Ollie didn't do it again. Maybe it's a bit much to ask Ollie to do it against Liverpool, but I think because his job's on the line, he might just have one last kind of trick up the sleeve, and he might win this and stay on a little bit more. I hope he doesn't. If it's going to mean that he's still around for the City game and the Atlanta game, maybe I would hope that we do. I don't want to say lose, but we don't do great on that either. Because I worry that if we get a win there, that's going to paper over some cracks, and it's just going to cause more problems down the line. But so I'd say I'll predict one each.
Yeah, and that's not good enough either. That doesn't. We haven't had a win since West Ham in mid-September. I mean, that's a long time ago now. Are we going to go into November without a win against since mid-September? I mean, that's unbelievable. And like we said earlier, we're bottom of the form table. It's absolutely horrendous at the moment. And even a draw against Tottenham isn't good enough. But it'd probably enough for the suits in the boardroom, to keep Ollie in job for another week. And then we'll see the inevitable battering against City. 100%. That's what's going to happen. Because they'll just take that defence apart in the first 20 minutes, and we'll be 4-0. We won't be 4-0 down at half time. We'll be 4-0 down inside 20 minutes.
Well, here you were there for the game. They beat us 6-1, weren't you, Ken? So at least now I'll be sitting at home. You can turn on the TV.
Yeah, I think those have the potential to get worse than that. This occasion, yeah, because this City team score a lot more goals than that team, and I mean we're just abysmal at the moment, and the back four is just simply appalling. I mean, Varane might be back for that game, but I don't want Varane to be a part of this because it's not fair on him, because I actually think he's did pretty well for United so far, but no one around him is playing well apart from the goalkeeper, and it's making him look bad as well. So I'm glad that that's the one silver lining. I'm glad he didn't play in that mulling against Liverpool. No one can blame him for that, because he wouldn't have deserved it, because he's actually done pretty well so far.
Yeah, I think this idea that Harry Maguire should start every game. He's the club captain. I don't subscribe to that, and I think it's good that Varane's there. But I worry that if Varane was playing, people wouldn't be targeting Maguire. They'd be going, get Varane out. We need someone else to partner Maguire, and I don't. I don't like this. Maybe because he's English, but I just don't like this idea that Maguire can do no wrong. Or that he's always forgiven, or he gets unlimited chances. Throw our guy in there. Let's see what he does.
Bailly absolutely deserves a chance, and he's right to be frustrated at not starting the game against Leicester, considering Maguire wasn't fit. That's another leak that came out, that Ollie is too loyal to underperforming players and doesn't give other players a chance at all. Van der Beek being the most obvious example, Jesse Lingard as well. We've seen Jesse Lingard getting abuse as he was warming up, and he quite rightfully said back to the fans, "I'm not even playing."
Yeah, I know. Let's not even mention Sancho. Ollie spent the better part of 2 years chasing him. He's finally got him, and he's not playing him.
Yeah, if he's going to spend 73 million on a player that's going to be a non-new sub against Liverpool, he should have spent that money on Declan Rice then, because we badly need a fucking defensive midfielder.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because the logic is that he doesn't play Donny Beek because he never wanted him. He was kind of forced on him. Well, then he got the player that he did